You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Mr. JP.
What's going on? How is everybody doing today?
So, JP, tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name's JP. Do you mind if I do a shameless plug?
I guess you could start it off that way if that's how you want to roll it.
I don't want to roll it that way. I just wanted to say that I also have my own podcast. That's how we met each other via Instagram. That's how I got in touch with Out of the Blank, and how I ended up on here. That podcast being Cofaqs Inc., where we talk about some answers, some questions, some mind-altering experiences. We talk about a bunch of different stuff.
The freaky deaky in the world that we all know.
Correct.
But we
it's
choose
pretty similar.
We choose
to
let it slide under the carpet. And
Yeah.
I don't know why we do that, because did you know cornflakes was originally invented to prevent masturbation?
I can believe it.
Exactly. That freaking 2 scoops Raisin Bran, whatever, it's all a trick. It's all a trick.
I believe it.
So what types of things, like how did you even dive into the realm of the weird stuff that we don't really look at a lot in the world? How did you even get into that?
Honestly, one of the hosts on our show, my buddy Jem, he's really into like stuff like that, the cornflakes, and what'd you say, prevents masturbation?
Yes, sir.
About it, he's into conspiracies and theories like that. So we've always had some pretty wild conversations growing up. And as we've gotten older, they've only gotten, more in depth, more wilder, etc.
What types of things have you learned kind of doing the podcast, or just things you've discovered in your own life that kind of changed your mind a little bit?
Recently, not just myself, but a couple of other hosts from the show, we dove into, I watched a couple things. We tried floating. It was highly recommended by the god of podcasts, Joe Rogan. That will definitely change your mindset.
That freaking changes everything. It changes the way you start eating food, changes the way you look at the world. Only on the concept of, imagine complete isolation, just floating in water, nothing from any of your senses, everything just being cut off. You start to hear shit, you start to feel shit, your mind just wanders off. It literally lets you know what it's like to be put in a corner with your thoughts.
It's kind of beautiful too, like in that way. It really is. You don't have your phone. You don't have anything. There's nothing for you to do. It's great.
Yeah, we're very hooked on these phones, dude. I mean, when I floated once, and let me tell you something, the whole time I was thinking about what happens if I just took a shit right now. I'm pretty sure when you hop in a public pool, the first thing you think of is like, oh, I can pee here. Like that's everything for everybody. If you say you've never pissed in a pool, then you're a complete liar, and I do not.
Yeah. I wouldn't trust anybody who would say they haven't peed in a pool.
You're telling me you're going to take 10 minutes, walk to the bathroom, wait in a line if there is one, walk awkwardly in front of all these naked old men in the bathroom, change out of your shorts, go to the bathroom, and then hop back in the pool? That's only going to happen if you have to poop, because nobody wants to sit in there with a dirty log at the end of the water.
Yeah, it's beat. I definitely don't trust anybody who hasn't at least peed in a pool once in their life.
You know what really changed my mind on pools is when I found out when your eyes burn from chlorine?
Yeah.
So it's actually because there was urine in the pool and it was the chlorine eliminating that. So when you have that burning in your eyes, it's not like burning after you pee where you did something wrong. It was more like it was the fault of somebody else's.
I see. I always thought that chlorine only dried your eyes. It wouldn't create that burning sensation. That's how I always felt when I came out of just a chlorinated pool.
That's what I thought too. I thought, oh, it's my eyes getting cleaner. Well, it is. It's also burning all the beneficial bacteria in there
Yeah,
too.
off
And
your cornea.
I I started to like when I stopped going to public pools on the concept. I mean, I even stopped going into pools in general because I knew my buddy's a savage and I know he pees in them too. And like, man, I've talked to people that own pool companies and work in pools. Like they say, you don't know the relaxation that you feel cleaning a pool. I'm like, whoa, like I've peed in pools before. He's like, you're one of those types of guys. I was like, yeah. And when you're at a water park, what do you think is happening around you? You think the kid going down the Galaxy Blast or the freaking Wash Me 2000? No, he's getting all the BO off of his body. And at the same time, he's also infecting you with the wonderful things he's drank and eaten through his
Yeah,
life.
it's true. It's a
So,
big cesspool for bacteria.
yeah. And you know what the crazy thing is? I found out throughout history why doctors made house calls back in the day. Because the safest thing is to be in your home when you were sick back in the day. Because hospitals were literally the cesspool of infection.
Yeah, they're much cleaner today, thank God, because it's just if the temperature, they intentionally keep the temperatures low to prevent the spread of infection and bacteria. They do a lot of things differently that they didn't do. I'm sure back in the day, a hospital was just concrete walls and that's it. They took care of the sick people.
Yeah, and they
Now it's
didn't know too much about cleaning off their utensils. Good thing we
correct.
had a couple of innovators there that kind of brought that to a point. I think there's so much weird stuff. Like it explains why my grandfather walks around the house in like a 50-degree environment, and he's like, "So I don't die." And I'm like, "What? What? Like you can turn the heat on, it's not going to kill you or anything." And he's like, "No, this keeps my body in a preservation." I'm like, excuse me? Like it's wintertime out, man. It's snowing and you have
Oh,
the house.
you gotta be warm. That's terrible.
He's like, I'm going to live longer. I'm like, but do you want to live longer when you could just easily throw a nice log into that furnace and you could just get
Yeah,
toasty and watch your cowboy movies? He's like, nah, I'm fine. I'll be okay. Put on more clothes was always the answer.
that's how it was in my house for a long time growing up when I was younger. Put on a sweatshirt. We're not turning the heat on yet.
It's like I have 6 sweatshirts on and 5 pairs of underwear with 4 pants on top of it. I mean, I can't keep just adding clothes. I'll
Um,
I'll buy you more blankets. Okay. Okay.
so what's such the stuff you've been into lately?
Well, for me, there's so much mysteries in the world. I found a fascination with mysteries really about people. And I try and be an open-minded as possible. I've heard some theories, I don't like sticking to anything as the answer. You know what I mean? I like there to be
Yeah,
so much mystery out in the
you're
world.
you're into the open ended.
For sure. Like saying a god or a deity and being in 100% belief in that and thinking that this is what's going to happen. For me, that's never the answer. I think like when it comes to religion, like I'm a ordained minister under the Church of Bacon. Yes, I said the Church of Bacon. It's basically an atheist safeguard. Like if you're an atheist and if you're, a lot of Christians, a lot of religiously followed folk, look at these atheists and go, you're an atheist? Well, you're going to hell for sure. Doesn't matter what religion you believe in. So this church, basically, they don't even really worship bacon. They use it as like a ploy, like, hey, why don't you just worship bacon? And it was only on the concept of it was a safeguard for atheism. I mean, I started my spinoff of this podcast called Fill in the Blank, where we focus on specific topics, hence the name Fill in the Blank.
Oh, yep.
Shameless plug for me there. Look at that. And
There you go.
it was only on the concept of there's a lot of weird ass shit going on. And my first episode, besides talking about Area 51 and all that, was about Pastafarianism. I mean, these people that worship a giant spaghetti monster. And I'm like, that sounds ridiculous. And then heading into the podcast and doing research on it, pulling up their website, pulling up information. It started from a college kid in 2008 or 6. And it was the idea that he didn't believe that religion should be taught in schools, like followed, like all you can learn about is Christianity, no other religions allowed. He believed it was open for all interpretations, no matter what religion you were in.
That's the weird thing about religion is it all stems from if you go back far as enough to look at Christianity, Judaism, Literally everything. Hinduism, it all stems from the same area in the world, and it all tells basically almost the same story, but to it being an end all be all, I think that whatever we interpreted from whatever ancient texts about religion, about beliefs, I think that could be misinterpreted hugely, and that we shouldn't just base our lives on some old books or some old readings or some old findings. Maybe just the answer is to just live your life and just do your thing, man. Just do your thing.
Well, see,
It's,
I have
it's
this
too much.
when I say I have a theory, it doesn't mean I believe it. It just means it would be like a kind of understanding of what it means. And when I say the theory for religion, I think we're all getting pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah,
We all have a
I can agree with
small
that.
fraction because it seems like everything kind of hits on the similar basis. Don't be cruel to others. Don't do these types of things. And there's an afterlife always talked about, whether you're in a spacecraft or you're sitting drinking tea with Elon Musk. I'm like,
That's my
it
boy.
all hits on the same basis. I feel like we're all getting a piece of the big picture. Like, I turn any religious story, anything like, oh, he walked on water. Oh, he turned water into wine. I'm like, I feel like it's the story effect. Like, did he actually walk on water or was he standing in the shallow end of the pool? Did
Yeah.
he actually turn water into wine, or did he have some David Copperfield type of trick? I have no clue, and that's not a poke at Christianity. If there's going to be any religion I'm going to poke at, it's going to be Scientology, because that one seems like a load of horse poopy to me.
The You big fan of Alan Watts? You ever listen to Alan Watts?
I'm a little bit delved into the world of Alan Watts. What
I
information are you trying to feed me here?
I've been reading one of his I'm actually reading his letters. So he has a big book. His daughters um put together this book of letters that he always wrote throughout his life, and like when he was getting into Zen and philosophy. And I don't know if you've ever listened to any of his lectures, but I encourage anybody out there who hasn't, who's interested in learning. Like he never believed in a religion either. Nor did he say he never really committed to Zen either, or Hinduism, but he studied each religion very, very critically from a very critical standpoint. Um, and the closest that he could affiliate himself with were Zen and Hinduism because of what they, I don't know, represent. Anyways, the guy has a great way of delivering complicated concepts and speaking on them in very basic tongue. So things like the afterlife, living.
He
He,
put
he's a
he
really great speaker.
puts it in a way you can understand. See,
Correct.
the craziness is, I listen to Joe Rogan while I'm at the gym. I have to pick specific ones that are easy for me to kind of half listen to. If Elon Musk comes on, I have to pay attention to that. Only reason is people say, well, Elon Musk is a liar. He's an idiot. He doesn't sound like he knows anything of what he's talking about. That's not true. I have religiously gone to the gym. My hours for the gym have gone from 2 o'clock in the morning to basically a full round scale around the clock. Let me tell you something. There are two types of people in this world. There are people that are functioning like myself at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they choose to be up at this time. They're your newspaper deliverers. They're your trash people. When I mean trash people, like trashmen. And
Garbage man. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're the people that can't function around everyday individuals. Not that they're idiots, but that on the concept of normal people make them sick a little bit. It's because nowadays we're very, very bland. We're very, very seeming like we all have something we're trying to get off somebody else. We don't really truly care about the person anymore.
I can agree with that.
And it's on everybody's mind. Why is it that this guy's helping me? Does he want something? Is he trying to get something out of it? Most of the time, that's the answer. There's very, very few people that actually help others to get a point across. Now, being at the gym at 2 o'clock in the morning, you will encounter one individual that has either two types of personalities. It's usually just one at a time, but it's the guy that is really fucking smart that can't have conversations with normal day people. Like him talking, you're like, whoa. And you feel like everything he's saying and explaining to you, you just can't comprehend. You're like, and then there's the guy that sells you drugs. And yeah, well, it's true. I've met
He's up. He's
doing something. He's doing
getting a workout in.
Yeah, I met this guy. He did 10 pull-ups the 2 hours he was there, and this dude was ripped, and I did not understand. And he was like, "Bro, look at me." And I'm like, "Look at you, what?" And he's like, "I take steroids." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, makes sense.
You just pulled out a steak in front of me and started eating it in the middle of the gym."
Savage.
I tell people when there's these two types of people, you have to look at those people that get up and choose to be up when people are sleeping is because they feel like they can't be around others, with their thoughts. They feel like they're too smart. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of them. He's very, very smart.
One of my favorite astrophysicists.
Yeah, he's very, very smart, but he has a voice and he has a way of expressing his thoughts to a less focused, knowledgeable audience when it comes to space and things I know nothing about. You know what I mean? He has a better concept, but he's like Morgan Freeman. Why do we choose Morgan Freeman as God in every single movie? It's because he can fucking talk to you and make you not feel like you're an idiot. It can actually sink in,
I have a feeling there's some sort of ASMR involved too in that, like the way his voice reaches an audience. Something about it is very ASMR like, where you can associate the voice with God. If Morgan Freeman wasn't, if you never knew what Morgan Freeman looked like, but you only heard Morgan Freeman's voice, you would be like, I'd imagine that's what God's voice sounds like. It's very like ASMR-y.
Well, if Morgan Freeman told you to kill your family, I guarantee you're killing your family. Like it's not happening. He could just easily tell you, murder your family slowly with a butter knife, and you'll be like, anything you say, sir. But I say, then you look at Elon Musk. Okay, people calling him an idiot, saying he didn't sound like he knew what he was talking about. No, he's the people that are very, very smart and they don't know how to say it in a way for you to understand. It's like watching The Big Bang Theory. Sheldon Cooper starts talking, you're like, what is happening? Like, you're like, what's going on? I don't understand. And
he doesn't really something I noticed about Elon Musk when he talked to Joe Rogan is being on a podcast. For him, I feel like every time he was asked a question, the reason the podcast suffered and Joe couldn't extract a lot of very it looked like personality from Elon is because you can watch it a million times. I've watched it 2 or 3. He is thinking very critically about what he's going to say when he answers. And I'm assuming that's because, and obviously he smoked weed on that podcast. So his stocks took a dump. Like, that's all reflective of just his behavior.
I love it how
that's why he's very critical and he takes so long to answer.
I love it how he did that and he crashed the stock. And I'm like, you guys are looking at this one thing and you're going to stop all of his inventions, everything, trying to decriminalize or trying to criminalize him on I'm like, this man shot a fucking Tesla into outer space. Okay. There's a car in outer space right now. Joe Rogan brings to the point. If you're trying to get rid of a body, that's the best way to do it. You can either chop it up, throw it in the ocean, and nobody will find it, or you can shoot it in outer space. And that guy has so much stuff going on. He created a flamethrower called Not a Flamethrower. Like, what? And then that's the only way he could sell it. He did that so he could package it and ship it to people's homes. Then people were buying flamethrowers all over the place. The dude is an inventive entrepreneur type figure. Like, his concept from things, he's practically a Jordan Belfort of this era.
He two of my favorite things to watch about Elon Musk right now, Neuralink, which for those who don't know what Neuralink is or what Elon Musk has been talking about with Neuralink, it is a chip that would basically be inserted into the neurons of your brain. It'll be connected to I forget how many, but it's a decent amount. And what they plan to do is create an interface between the chip that goes behind your ear and into your neurons and connect it to some sort of Bluetooth device. And study the brain, I think, is what the first round of tests is for. But then it will be to create some sort of interface between your body and like a symbiote. We would combine with technology rather than be controlled by technology.
Are you okay? Now I want to throw this your way, all right? Because I'm
Sure.
probably teaching you a little bit more towards some information you could use for your podcast. So we have a center. Reagan developed this. It's called the Center for Existential Risk. Do you know what existential risk is?
Yeah, I would assume it's unnecessary risks. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Well, it's basically Skynet. You know, if Skynet starts to happen, there's like basically a group of people in the CIA that own this kind of executive branch. $500 million a year they get funded to watch all technology. That means your iPhone, your fucking toilet that's learning how to talk to you, all these wonderful things, making sure it doesn't get to a point where it's going to take over the human race and make it so we're not a thing anymore. Because the one time we decided to make an artificial AI, we did it with, I think, 2 computer systems and found out after a week that they were communicating on a frequency level that we could not read. They were talking on
I've
decibels.
heard I've heard that. I've
And we
heard that
shut
story.
it down.
Yep.
Now you're seeing it happen again. Sophia the robot. Okay. She just got rights. I don't know if you know too much about Sophia the robot.
I do a little bit, very little.
Well, Whitney Cummings just released a comedy special on Netflix using the Real Doll Company, the one that makes sex dolls, the whole thing they structure to make it look like a person, and with the Sophia brain. It looks literally like Whitney Cummings, like everything. And they said the best way to get it, like make it as human as possible, is the symmetry. They had to make sure the symmetry was off because no human is perfect. Doing that made it very hard to distinguish if a thing was a robot or not. The only reason I could tell was because you can kind of tell it looked a little bit emotionless. You know, it's machines haven't hit that point to show emotion. But it's cheek muscles, like where you would smile and you get the cringe smile. It had these 2 pulsators or moving things in that area, which just pulled the lips up, pulled the lips down. It showed like it was not evoking actual vocal emotion. And I'm like, man, this is going to take a fucking road, dude. I hope the Center for Existential Risk, I hope some dude's not playing Angry Birds on his phone and actually paying attention to this.
Mm, yeah, I would imagine that Neuralink would be flagged if that was if that's a real thing.
Do you think human like implementation of machine is a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing? I see it going the wrong way.
I don't know. Elon Musk talks about it, and he's much smarter than I am. Elon Musk talks about it as it would once again bring the human race past wherever it was supposed to be. I feel like as a human race, we're way past where we were supposed to be to begin with. I think we're supposed to be with nature, and the reason we have a lot of things like depression, anxiety, suicide is because we don't spend enough time delved into nature anymore. We're always connected to our phones, our computers. We're never experiencing just life how it's supposed to be, like as if we were part of the animal kingdom. And we're not that anymore. We're way past that. And to become a symbiote now with technology, the only direction is much farther, much farther.
My buddy Evan's a big implementer on this gene chip they want to start doing in the back of your head, where it basically gives you the internet on the back of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
So
like,
it's like a
dude,
projector.
he's like, well, it's more like if I installed a computer chip into your head and you just decided to be like, well, I'm going to look up on the internet instead of using a textbook. You're just going to be like, bam, Safari in your head, kind of like Google Glass in a way, but it's inside of
Mm-hmm.
your head. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so you want Google on the back of your brain. Yeah, man, you know how many things I would be able to do? You know how many things I'd be able to learn? I could put Google Translate into my brain. So immediately when someone said something, I could just hear it and translate it. I'm like, yeah, that's the good intentions that we have for the product. That's why the people are producing it. It's awesome. But do you know people? And he goes, yeah, people, they're going to look for ways to better themselves. They're going to be, I'm like, no, people are going to be like me. They're going to be the ones that are sitting in class trying to look up porn on the back of their head instead of paying attention to the concept of what's going on in front of them. You know, you're going to see, you talk about hands-free driving. Imagine if that phone is in the back of your head. There's no hands-free. I mean, it is hands-free technically, but you know, it's even worse, man. I mean, there's going to be a point, you know, he's all for implementing technology. He's like, dude, if I could get like a robotic heart, if I could get all these, I'm like, that's too much, you know. There's going to be a point where it's like the movie with Justin Timberlake where they had a barcode on their wrist and they have to
Yep.
scan to pay for things and it took years off your life.
They
That's,
already have that. That's down the line. That's coming.
dude, they have a chip, a dude installed in his arm where he walks up to a door and the door opens for him.
It's think about it. Why do you think that they switched our credit cards to chips? So they get used to saying, you know, where's the chip? Insert the chip. They getting you used to. They're getting you ready for when now it's inside of us and or on us, tattooed on us, whatever. And you that's how you pay for things. It's really that's what it is. It'll be a build up to that, but it's coming. It'll definitely come. I don't know how it'll play out. Um, once the technology gets that far and like how currency will work.
Now, before we dive down these rabbit holes, I want to know, are you more interested in technology advances or are you more interested in like conspiracy theories? I want you to kind of take the
I like
direction here.
I like both doors. Conspiracy theories I can talk about for so long. Because I don't like to flat out say I would believe some of the theories, but I definitely leave the door open and say that it's a possibility. You can't just deny possibilities, you know what I mean?
I think one conspiracy theory that I don't believe, but I can't say is not true, um, is the theory that we came from Mars. I don't know if you've ever heard of
I've heard
this
I
theory.
actually just dove into that not too long ago. I watched a whole like 2-hour thing on it.
So
I
with
couldn't
the asteroid hitting and then the particles kind of floating off into Earth's atmosphere and then we evolving from these particles, that type of thing.
so no, my theory was the theory that I had stumbled upon very late um after watching the YouTube rabbit hole. Uh it was that we were actually a race on Mars at one point. Our planet had, you know, was dying and decaying, and we left the planet to come to Earth. But Earth was already inhabited by another sort of human race, and it was a mess. It was a mess. It goes on and on and on. And basically, they fought for I don't know. It's crazy. It was one of the crazier ones.
It's literally like we're sticking our hand in a fortune cookie jar and we're just breaking open all these fortunes until we find the one that fits our best narrative.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's so much like, all right, so the one I found with the Mars theory that we came from Mars. All right, so the Big Bang happened, all these particles kind of came together. Next, you know, Earth was created, and you know, we evolved from these micro. You ever play the game Spore, and you evolve
Of
from those
course.
little bacteria things, and you just become this monster at the end, or this full developed creature. And apparently, since a meteor hit Earth, or not Earth, Mars, as some particles drifted off, and then when the cosmos was being made or whatever, we got formed and we became those particles drifted down through the gravity and atmosphere or whatever, and then evolved into these things. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that could be a possibility. I mean, if you think Jupiter's are practically our shield, I mean, it protects us from so many meteors. I think the last one that was supposed to wipe out this whole entire human race, you know, ones that bigger than the ones that apparently took out the dinosaurs. It was twice the size of that. This meteor, you know, uh, we didn't have those types of guys like what's his name? Freaking God, he's in Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis,
We
yeah.
did not have Bruce Willis to stop this meteor, but Jupiter saved us from it, because Jupiter saves us from a lot of stuff. And I'm like, if you think people that deny dinosaurs, that say the meteor did not take out the dinosaurs, I just look up at the moon and say there's a lot of craters on the moon, and we know those craters are formed by meteorites just hitting it. So why is Earth so damn lucky? It's not like we sit here and get missed by a lot of stuff. No, there's meteors that fly, there's meteors that hit us all the time. There was a group of meteors that shattered in our atmosphere, and it literally, like, where the little fragments hit, leveled like fields upon fields of trees, just straight up flattened them. I'm like, so is it really out of the realm of possibility to think that one meteor hit us, Pangea happened, and next thing you know, where all these continents are now what they are today, the great United States, the Russia, all these things are now separated because of something so impactful?
Mm.
I mean, it makes you think, but that's the problem with a lot of stuff. I like to dive into cryptozoology only on the concept of all of our lives need mystery. We need something to be interested in.
You're talking about Bigfoot and
Yeah, man,
chupacabras,
Bigfoot
etc.
for sure, dude. I've podcasted on all of them: Chupacabra, Bigfoot, Yeti. I have a buddy that does a cryptozoology podcast, and he's 100% belief of these things. He's like, bruh, we're going to go out to the Yellowstone and we're going to search for Bigfoot. And I'm like, there's a group of people that literally, that's what they do for their day job. They go out and they search for Bigfoot. Is he
Yeah,
out there? I don't know.
One of our hosts also is a big Bigfoot believer.
It's all right. I chalk up Bigfoot. We talk about, apparently the most physical or most amount of evidence to suppose that there is a Bigfoot. It's not just one guy. It's a race of them. It's a species that kind of came with the Homo sapiens and monkeys and all these things. And I'm like, I like to think of Bigfoot as the guardian of the forest, not Smokey the Bear, not him, not that garbage. That's like that side street, like when you get the multi-meal cereal from the store or something. It's not the real brand. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Bigfoot's the guardian of the realm. I picture Bigfoot coming out of the woods with like a yogi kind of robe on with a giant staff and being like, did you just fucking litter in my woods? And I'm like, sorry. He goes, pick it up or I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to throw you into freaking outer space. And I'm like, okay, all right. I think I like to think that type of stuff. I don't actually believe it, but it's a cool concept because that makes you rationalize this life you're living in. See, the problem is people go, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're nuts, you're a loon job, you're so out there. I'm like, it's creativity, man. We live in a world where creativity is not looked at as highly as it was before. There were people, innovators back in the day. And I have to say back in the day because the innovators that are now are doing stuff with technology where technology just half the job for us. Do I think creativity is lacking? A little bit, but it's changed form. Our phones have made it easier for us to be creative through our podcasting and through these wonderful things. But seeing art, seeing writing's now dying off now that we have a phone. When Amazon and Netflix started controlling the market, Blockbuster went out of business. Barnes and Noble went out of business. You don't
I
need
still have a Barnes and Noble up here, but I don't know if I
anybody.
don't know how long it's gonna last. Yeah, that was the only book I've bought, dude, in like probably a year. Was that Alan Watts book? It's the last book I ever picked up.
And the problem with all these stuff being eliminated is it eliminates the real connectivity you need. See, sadly, the fact every podcast I've talked to with people, it all comes down to the same basis on society has a problem with connectivity. It's true. We rely more on our connectivity on social media than we do with actual face-to-face interaction anymore. You don't take the time to know anybody in your neighborhood anymore. You don't need to know your neighbor. You just sit there and judge him from a distance and stare creepily out the window and think that guy's a creep. And it's really weird because we put such faith in social media to the point where Facebook started off like, hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I'm doing that. And then it turned into my life's shit. My life's crap. Everything's complaining about Facebook from like 2010 to like 2015. And then nowadays it's just people posting up memes and the memes are on depression and then people liking it and finding laughter in it. I looked at a meme that had depression. Literally, it was like when you think you got life figured out, and then the bills come, and then it's like a dude opening up his mailbox and it's just shooting all this like bills at him. I'm like, ha, that's funny. And I'm like, I just laughed at that because I'm experiencing that. Wow. Like now everything that is depression related is relatable, which makes it funny.
That's why I said like those things didn't exist back in the day. People didn't have anxiety and depression like they do today. It was not as prevalent, I don't think. I think the phone makes it worse, the computer makes it worse. Instant gratification from those things and the dopamine rushes created by having everything at your fingertips definitely is contributing to a lack of stimulation, whatever stimulation we used to get from connecting with other people, like going out and playing with somebody as a child, going out and playing manhunt in the neighborhood and having those social interactions and all that stuff is gone. And now you just send text messages to your friends and figure out where you want to go and do something rather than
Then
the
you have to
adventure.
you
Yeah,
have to you have to creep so low. I'm just kidding on this one, but you have to kind of go down to the point just to hang out. You have to form a podcast. I've actually talked to a lot
Jesus.
of yeah, and I bet that you laughed at that because that's probably what kind of keeps you guys connected in a way, or at least seeing each other kind of on a time.
It definitely keeps us hanging out and trying to get together, but it's definitely not the only reason. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
is a reason though. It
yeah.
for sure it's a reason.
That's what sucks is we became, I mean, it's awesome that you guys can do that. I have friends that do podcasts together and that helps them, but they feel like, yeah, we don't like even like after a long ass work day, like during the work day when we're working, we're like, we're going to hang out tonight. We're going to do this. But if it's not going to a bar, if it's not doing something that you're getting something out of, it's not doing that. Or if you actually have to go to somebody's house and do this without anybody relying on you or anybody waiting for something like an episode to come out for a podcast. You don't feel like there's anything forcing you to go do something. And now we have to be forced to hang out with people and realize being forced to get there is the thing. But once you're there, you enjoy it. You love it. You know what I mean? The problem is luxury isn't comfortability. When we walk through the door, even if we're pent up, like as soon as we park the car, like I'm going to go out tonight, I'm going to get this done. As soon as you walk in your house, oh, dude, I just want to go upstairs, lie down and watch Netflix. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's going to be your whole life then. And I'm at fault for doing it too. There are days on my day off where I'm just sitting like I don't want to leave the fucking house. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to shower. I don't even want to move to get up to piss. I just want to sit down and be comfortable and just sleep all day. And that's because we're getting too full as people nowadays. We're getting fed too much information from the constant stress of everyday life, and we don't have the connectivity to kind of release it in a way.
Correct.
So what types of things do you want to ask or bring up that you find fascinating and you want to get my opinion on here?
Oh, I have so many. How are you following the Area 51 raid?
Yes, the how it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening.
It was just a joke, and then a bunch of people took it out. It was like, first of all, the government's not going to let you anywhere near that base. It's not happening. It's
That's
not.
not even where they keep the aliens anyways. So.
Yeah, exactly. And even Bob Lazar, the guy that exposed Area 51 or whatever, he exposed Hangar S8 or whatever the sector that was that he was working in that had UFOs. He never said they were aliens. He just said that they had flying spacecrafts. That's UFO, unidentified flying objects.
Correct.
And we known that from the Nazis. The Nazis actually had the very first ones. Canada was actually the one that was supposed to have a reported first alien spacecraft called the ARZ Canada something 79 or something. It was crazy looking contraption. But it's not going to happen only on the concept of as soon as people came out and said that, they immediately government bought all properties surrounding Area 51. So now you can't even get into a 100-mile radius of Area 51. Like, not happening. Sorry. I mean, there's videos. I don't know if you've ever seen the Facebook videos of people that are driving up on their bikes to this undisclosed location. And then a bunch of military people like turn around right now. Turn around. There's no
I've
going
seen
past.
that.
It's like you see that. It's like the government's doing some shit they don't want you to know about. My idea for solving this problem is the government should just charge $50 per head of each person that wants to go into Area 51. Like, look, we're doing some shit you're not going to like. We don't want you knowing about. We're trying to save you. If you want to go in, give me this money. Go in, get fucked up afterwards. I don't care.
I don't know if it's I don't think it's all that. I don't think Area 51 is the source of like human experimentation and like crazy dark intelligence and stuff like that. I think that very plainly it is a military air base, but we test all of our new jets, we test all of our new rockets, we test a lot of aerial craft there that we don't want our enemies to know about. So that's why they're very secretive about why people go in and out. Does that mean they don't have aliens in there? Absolutely not, because I really want there to be aliens in there.
I think everybody wants there to be aliens because we don't want to feel like we want to know if there's something out there. I mean, Ronald Reagan said it best. He designed a thing that would monitor alien anything, any type of weird.
What is it called? What's the large base with all the satellites, and all they do is listen to the world. Basically, they have the giant. I forget what it's called. It's a huge base.
I thought it was unidentified something. Or it's
giant air base. It's not an air base, but it's like a radio.
It's a base for monitoring any type of unidentified abnormalities or whatever.
Yep.
But it's a research place because Reagan said it best. Like, we cannot be closed-minded to think that we're the only ones in this world or in this galaxy out there. There has to be, if there's us, there has to be something out there. And people are like, he just said that in a presidential speech. Like, the president just admitted that there might be something out there. He was just like, we need to be aware if there is, you know what I mean? Let's not be closed-minded and think we're the only ones here, because someone's going to come and finally maybe beat us to space, or not space travel, but time travel, or whatever the hell you want to talk about, going across dimensions. I mean, we're already heading to Mars. We made it to the moon. Now we're heading to Mars. And I'm like, to think that there's not someone else out there with maybe 100 years past our technology and is already kind of looking down on us, I'd like to be fucking aware if that was happening, I don't like it when Alexa is in the same room as me when I'm taking a shit, because I feel like she's watching me. So we have this fear, we have this knowingness of there could be something watching us at all times. That's why the only reason why you're ever comfortable is in your room with the door shut, locked, and then you could truly be naked and be free. You can't do that around your house because there might be someone that might walk in. There's always that possibility.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think Area 51 is definitely not the place they have the aliens. They wouldn't, if they have UFOs and they have aliens at all, you're not going to know where that place is. You'll hear about it when they choose to tell you about it. That's it. If it's that dark, if it's that deep and dark, you're not going to be like, oh, Area 51's got the aliens. We just need to get in there. It's not going to be like that.
I think it's more going to be on the lines of clones a little bit, like they're doing some type of weird human experimentation that we've been known to do throughout history.
I'm pretty sure cloning is down the pipe.
I mean, we learned how to clone animals. We learned how to do these types of things. What makes you think that they haven't moved up to human trials? I mean, we remember stem cells? That was
going to say, yep.
That was illegal here. Not anymore. It's actually a known thing to get now. You can get stem cell shots. You can get all these types of things. You know what is illegal now that's now getting brought into America because it was a successful trial and study done in China?
What's up?
There was a doctor here that was working or trying to get brain transplant surgery. They figured out how to actually successfully take a brain out of somebody's body and put it into a different one. They started with dogs and monkeys, taking out their spine, everything, and then putting it back in. But they would fix something. Like if a monkey was paralyzed, okay, picture a monkey in a wheelchair. Don't laugh. Okay, it's serious. We got to take this seriously. They fixed the monkey's spine, and now the monkey can walk again, And next thing you know, they're like, let's move to human trials. This started in China. The doctor had to go to China to get this done. Now it's being kind of just looked at here. Studies have been coming out about it. And now it's going to be seen as maybe this is something we should try here. That scares the living shit out of me.
I have a question. So if you get a brain transplant because you're paralyzed, whose consciousness are you activating?
What do you mean?
Well, it's always been kind of discussed that the one person's unique consciousness would be like
It'd be
obviously
considered.
behind your eyes, in front of your ears. That's where it all comes from. So when you get transplanted, excuse me, when you get
How?
transplanted into somebody else, does your consciousness go with you, or does
Well, I think Ryan Sickler said it best. That his doctor told him like they always associate the spirit with inside of the chest. You know, that's what. But you can take anything out of your body, but once someone touches your brain, you lose who you are. You know, you lose certain things like you can't see, your personality changes. Sam Kinison got hit by a car and then was a completely different person afterwards, where he became the comedian we know today. And I think when you take someone's brain out of their body and put it into another body, like you can't just shove it in there with another brain. You have to take that person's brain out. It's still you, technically. It's your thoughts, your emotions, your all these types of things, but your genetic makeup is completely different now. You're a woman, you got tits, you know? It's not you. I don't know what the basis for trying to understand what that would even be. It boggles my mind, mostly because I don't understand any of these things that's going on. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher. I just sit there and look up the article and find the information. I'm like, well, that's what's going on. You know, it's the same thing we do with the news today. We choose to accept the information we're being fed to us, and we never choose to look into and question anything anymore. I know if someone takes me out of my body and puts me in a different body, I'm not going to be me anymore. I might be in my own mind. It might be all my same thoughts, all my same speech, anything like that, but it's not my physical body I was born with. It's not the one I've always known. It's going to feel different to me. You're always going to know that. You know, I've talked to transgender people and people that experience body dysmorphia and what it feels like to be in the wrong body. That's an illness, but that is something I can relate to, being body dysmorphic. Like, I know what it looks like to look in the mirror and not like what you see. And for someone to understand that, or just not even feel comfortable in your own skin, like it's 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 really hard to kind of conceptualize in a way. And it you know, it turns into that movie with Ryan Reynolds where the dude was a billionaire and his body was dying, so they found a cadaver body, someone that is dead, and they just took the brain out of him and then put the dude's brain in him, and that dude was living his complete life. And then suddenly throughout the movie, he's remembering what that dude's life was like, what he was remembering, that guy's thoughts. He's basically turning into that person. It was some type of defect or something, like a rare occurrence that happens when they do this. I'm like, that everything you're seeing in the movies, it seems like we're getting to it at a certain point in our history.
mm, I just don't that would be one thing that I would be like, what's the deal with when you do a brain transplant? Does that person's consciousness come with the brain? For
Yeah, well, I
example,
mean,
if
if
I
I
was paralyzed and you took my brain out of my body and put it in, we'll use a cadaver, I would assume my consciousness will be my own once I come back, once I'm awake again. If you put my brain into another person who's had their brain removed as well, and now my brain is in their body, will I wake up or will they wake up?
it would be you, because well, the basis of, or what the theory is you're taking out a hollow shell. You know, when they take when you see a corpse at a funeral, when you see that cadaver,
Absolutely.
yeah, they take out all the organs and everything. So if I put my heart into that body, then that's my heart in that body. It's not the dude's. It's not going to turn. I mean, technically, it turns into the dude's heart, but it's still mine originally. Like, that's my heart. You know, when you get an organ transplant or any of those types of things, that's someone else's organ. It's now yours that you get to use, but wasn't originally yours. On the fucking inside of that heart, it's going to say made in Robbie. You know what I mean? It was made
Yeah.
for me. So when you take someone's brain and you're using like an empty shell of a body, and you put this brain in there that's yours, it's yours. That's still
Yeah.
you. You know that you're really our bodies are just vessels. Our bodies are just these, bags of blood that we kind of. It's like using when you have your controller and then you have your Xbox. Okay, your Xbox is the brain, but your controller is the body. You're able to move through the controller, but the true system, is away from you. And it's hard to kind of, when you start really diving into it, to figure out, because I think the basis of that movie I was talking about was like the dude was getting the other guy's memories from like a deja vu type thing. Like he was remembering someone else's memories. And I think that might be like imprinting in the skull. I mean, you got to think your brain is basically like driving in a car with no seatbelts. When you hit the brakes, your brain has, it's your body slamming up against the front of the windshield. Okay. And then it just bounces back. Like when you get hit with like CTE, all that stuff that's coming out with all these football players that are losing and seem like they're progressing in age faster than when they should, is because their brain is just literally being like structured and rumbled around on the inside. It's literally like you put it through hell, which ages it. And I think like that has to probably, like, you fucking, you get hit so hard, your head slams into the front, or your brain slams into the front of your forehead. Next thing you know, it's fucking, you have a memory of Disney World on the front of your forehead.
Mm. Yeah, the brain and consciousness is something that I don't think there's a lot of science done on consciousness anymore. It feels like the more you look into it, the more of a mystery it becomes, because your own individual consciousness is so unique to you. If you look at it like very objectively and scientifically, it's your body. Your body takes in all this information through your eyes, through your ears, all your senses, touch, smell, taste, all that. And without that, like I said, if you float, or if you've ever tried floating, you'll know what I'm talking about. But deprived from all your sensory input, you really figure out how powerful and how expansive your mind really is. And it definitely it's beneficial to your body as well, of course.
I think we're trying to discover space in so many ways. We're trying to get off this planet as fast as possible because we're fearing that we're literally putting it in danger. It's progressing at a point to, it's not going to be around as long as we predicted it would be around. And we're so willing to escape from our problems than truly focus on them. We're worried about exploring space because we want to know what's out there, but we don't even know the closest thing to us. There's still so much of the ocean and land we have left yet to discover. 75% of the ocean is still left undiscovered just because we can't go down there. And not even looking at the world ourselves, our brain, there's so much about our brain we don't understand. Why is it that if I hit my head a certain way, I can speak with a foreign accent?
Yep.
That's shit I think we should be looking more into, something very, very close to us, rather than trying to look for the next home that's way, way far away from us.
Yeah. Even if there's a place for us to go, we still have to bring Earth with us, um, to go there. We're creatures that came from the Earth, like a flower buds off, uh, it blooms from a plant. We bloomed from Earth. We come from Earth. If we leave the planet in any way, shape, or form, we have to take a fake version of the planet, bottle it up, and take it with us anyway. So it's not like we can't leave and just go somewhere. There will still be an element that we have to take with us to survive. So
Yeah, I think it's like when you go to the beach and you gather up some sand and put it in a bottle and you take it home with you, you're getting a piece of that beach with you.
Yep.
We're going to end up leaving this place one day and we're going to end up taking a little piece of Earth with it. This is an earthworm. His name's Billy. I took him off of Earth, and this is what we'll remember Earth by. I'm afraid of where we're progressing with technology, only on the concept of connectivity and what the true meaning of what things are supposed to mean to us seems to be getting lost in translation each and every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I appreciate you being on my podcast, man. And it's been cool shooting the shit with you for a little bit, JP.
No, I appreciate it, man. That was awesome. Thanks for hitting me up on Instagram. It's pretty brave doing stuff like that, reaching out. So
yeah, I get a bunch of them. You hear some person like I have a thing on dude. There's a thing on Craigslist. A guy will come to your house and punch your balls for $50. My teacher didn't believe me. My teacher didn't believe me, and I showed him, and then he said, "Okay, well, I give up on everybody." I'm like, "Yep, that's what we've deformed to. We've tried to solicit services. If I can look up a guy that's going to piss on me at 2:00 in the morning for $100, there's people that'll buy." It's funny because that's the real mysteries in the world we need to be figuring out, not what the hell Elon Musk is doing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, JP, for being on the podcast, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, Robbie.